So I want to talk about my first year expectations for new head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel. Now, Mike McDaniel previously spent time with the 49ers. He was their offensive coordinator. He also had a couple of other roles on Kyle Shanahan's staff throughout the years. And I'm going to be honest, this is my favorite head coaching hiring of all time. As soon as I saw the notification pop up that said the Miami Dolphins are hiring Mike McDaniels to be their next head coach, I was like, who is Mike McDaniels? And I looked up and I saw how he looked. The dude kind of looks a little bit nerdy and geeky in a lot of people's eyes. I was like, oh yeah, like this dude is going to do some things. Like, I'm expecting Mike McDaniels to have a lot of success with the Miami Dolphins. Like, if you hear him talk, the dude just knows so much about football. Like, I'm like, golly, man. Like, I get it. You know a lot, man. And he's automatically an upgrade on the offensive side of football, because now you actually going to have a guy who knows what he's doing on offense. Because, like, I know there are a lot of people who are big fans of Brian Flores and whatnot, but let's just be honest. Like, Brian Flores, and I don't like using this term a lot, but he was kind of overrated. Like, a lot of people consider him to be one of the best coaches in the league, but yet, like, he didn't even make it to the playoffs, not one season. However, he did, overachieve and whatnot. Being able to win 6 games his first year of the roster that he had was definitely a miracle. However, it's like, the dude had, like, 3 offensive coordinators. And I don't even know how that process went. Like, 3 offensive coordinators. Like, first it was 2. Then I asked a couple of Dolphins fans. He said no. Like, we actually had 3 offensive coordinators. So apparently they couldn't find a RPO scheme alone, so they had to bring in 2 other guys to come up with a scheme, since Tua was limited by his hip, his strength, and his inability to roll out the pocket due to the fact that the Dolphins didn't have a good offensive line. So it's like, I don't even know how Tua was supposed to develop when you had 3 offensive coordinators. Like, how does the play even get radioed in? Like, do, like, the 2 offensive coordinators on the sideline, like, have, like, a little debate about what's going to be the play call? Then I guess they radio in to somebody else and he gives the play call to Tua. Like, what? You get what I'm saying? So, like, I don't understand, why people hold Brian Flores in such this high regard. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the dude is a bad coach. Like, the dude was a solid coach, but not, a great coach like a lot of people try to make him out to be. Like, people trying to make him out to be like he was a top 10 coach in the league or something. Like, if he was a top 10 coach in the league, why didn't he get the Dolphins to the postseason? You get what I'm saying? And, like, on top of that, like, dude was toxic. You get what I'm saying? Like, I understand he didn't want Tua. I get that. He wanted Justin Herbert. But the reports are, like, he was an a-hole to a degree. Like, he was calling the dude trash in practice, like, bringing him down. Like, there were times that we are forced to work with people that we don't want to work with. Okay? And it was stupid on the Dolphins' part by drafting the quarterback who your head coach didn't want in the first place. You get what I'm saying? However, it's like, it's still one team, one goal. So even if you didn't like Tua, like, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to, talk down on your starting quarterback, ruin his confidence, and then you further ruin his development or hinder his development by, complicating the play calling process. Like, how could any quarterback, have success with 3 offensive coordinators? Like, that makes no sense. And I'm not saying he had 3 different offensive coordinators, like a different offensive coordinator every season. Like, no, the dude literally last season, the Dolphins had 3 offensive coordinators. Literally. So for Mike McDaniel, it's a breath of fresh air, because now you have a guy who knows what to do on the offensive side of football. And we know kind of what system Mike McDaniel is going to implement. It's going to be similar to that West Coast style offense that Kyle Shanahan runs in San Francisco. So we're probably going to see Miami put a lot of emphasis on running the football. But on top of that, I'm really intrigued in seeing the creativity that Mike McDaniel is going to bring to the Dolphins offense, because you have 2 of the fastest wide receivers in the game in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So it's like, how do you game plan for that? And if Mike McDaniels is the kind of offensive guru that I think he is, this offense potentially could end up being top 5 or at worst top 10, because everybody talks about, how Tua doesn't have a strong arm and whatnot, but you don't have to have a strong arm to be an effective quarterback in the league. Drew Brees didn't really have a strong arm. There are plenty of quarterbacks who have been successful in this league without having a strong arm. You don't need a Josh Allen or a Justin Herbert kind of arm to be successful. There are different ways to win in this league. And for Tua, he wins it by dominating in the short and intermediate passing game, which I think that Mike McDaniels is going to put a lot of emphasis on. He's going to get that run game going. He's going to set up the pass game with the short passes. And then when the defense starts trying to play over the top, that's when you take shots downfield and beat them over the top. And with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, that shouldn't really be that hard to do. Like, Tua doesn't really need that strong of an arm. Really, like, all he just needs is for them to just create a little bit of separation. As long as he has enough arm to lead them, for Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill to run after the ball, that's really all he needs. So it's like, when you have two of the fastest wide receivers in the NFL, like, you don't really need, the greatest quarterback to get them the football. All you really need to do is get them out in space. Tyreek Hill doesn't need the greatest quarterback to be throwing him the football. All he needs is just space. And by running bubble screens, slant passes, drag routes, sending Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in motion, that's going to cause a lot of problems for the defense. Then on top of that, you improve the offensive line. You brought in left tackle Teron Armstead. You bring in offensive guard Connor Williams. You also bring in a good amount of running backs like Chase Edmonds, who formerly played for the Arizona Cardinals. I love him. I think the dude might end up being a beast. Then you bring in Raheem Mostert. Like, the Dolphins have a lot of talent on the offensive side of football going into this season that Tua Tagovailoa never had previously. So for Tua now, he has all the keys to the Mercedes. Now he just needs to drive them to the postseason. I think that most definitely could happen depending on how a couple of things work out when it comes to their schedule and whatnot. I'm still waiting for the official schedule to be released before I give my official prediction on the Miami Dolphins making it to the playoffs or not. But if you were to ask me right now, JT, like, do you think the Dolphins are a playoff contender? Yes, they are. And with Mike McDaniel, I expect this team to be in the postseason this year. Now, I know some Dolphins fans may be like, oh, your expectations are a little bit too lofty. Like, no, they're not. Like, Brian Flores last season had this team on the brink of making it to the postseason twice. You get what I'm saying? So Brian Flores had this team coming close on the outside looking in and getting into the playoffs. Mike McDaniel should be able to get this team into the postseason. The team should not be going backwards in no stretch of imagination. No excuses. You get what I'm saying? There's no excuses for Mike McDaniel winning less games than what Brian Flores did, especially with the fact that now he has even more talent to work with on the offensive side of the football. And on top of that, he's an offensive-minded coach. So with him being an offensive-minded coach, the offense should be the strength of his team. And he also sounds really excited to be working with Tua Tagovailoa. And it's kind of refreshing to hear somebody speak good of Tua, because we never really heard Brian Flores speak good of Tua. As a matter of fact, not too many people ever really speak good of Tua. And I'm really hoping that Mike McDaniels works out as a head coach for Miami, and I really believe that he will, because most coaches that come from these Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan coaching trees, like, these guys really know football. So for Mike McDaniel, like, I'm really excited to see what he's going to do this year with Miami. Like, this offense should be no worse than top 10, and this defense probably still should be really good, even though you're not going to have, the defensive expertise of Brian Flores, since he was a defensive-minded coach. He specialized on that side of the football. Like, you still have enough talent that as long as the defensive coordinator for Miami is, at least competent or at least solid in play calling, like, the defense should still be pretty good. There shouldn't be a tremendous drop-off. Their defense shouldn't go from being what it was last year, being really good, to being one of the worst in the league. Like, they just have way too much talent. They have one of the best quarterback tandems in the league with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. like, you have a pretty good pass rushing duo. You have Emmanuel Ogbah, who's been your most productive pass rusher. Then you have Jalen Phillips, who should have a breakout season going into his second year in the NFL. So this is a Miami Dolphins team that does have enough talent to at least get into the playoffs as a 6 or 7 seed. So my first year expectations for the Miami Dolphins with new head coach Mike McDaniels is to at least make it to the playoffs as a 6 or 7 seed, because like that's really what this team has been, at least over the last year or so. They have been a borderline playoff team. And you look at the moves that they made this offseason by signing guys like, Connor Williams and Teron Armstead and trading for Tyreek Hill. They have went from a borderline playoff team to being a playoff contender. So they should be in the postseason. They should at least be able to get in, find a way to backdoor their way in, 6, 7 seed, and then, maybe win a game in the wild card round and then get knocked out in the divisional round. So for Miami, it's just way too much talent for this team to not make it to the postseason. And if Mike McDaniel and this Dolphins team ends up winning less games than what Brian Flores has done previously, then I'm going to look back at this hiring and I'm going to say, okay, like now I have my reservations about it. But Mike McDaniel, from everything that he said and everything that he's talked about wanting to implement and everything that he wants to do with Tua Tagovailoa and whatnot, like I think that this hiring is going to end up being one of the better hirings that have went down this offseason. And then on top of that, like you look at Tua Tagovailoa, like Tua Tagovailoa is also going to play a big part into the equation determining how good Miami is, because he's gained weight. The dude has bulked up. He's trying to get more healthy. He's trying to improve his durability, because the only way Miami is going to have a legit chance of making it to the postseason is if Tua Tagovailoa is able to stay healthy. But I mean, you do have Teddy Bridgewater, so I guess even if Tua isn't able to stay healthy, like I think Teddy is good enough to get you there also, because you kind of have like a similar skill set with him and Tua. Not really having the strongest arms, but really being good in the short and intermediate passing game. So playoff or bust for the Miami Dolphins are my first year expectations for this team with their first year head coach and Mike McDaniel.